What it do, boxing heads? This is PYP, and there's a lot to cook up tonight after a weekend of highs and lows. There's a lot to get off our chest, so let's jump right in. The Times Square flop. What started out as a pretty cool and novel idea turned out to be anything but. We had a boxing ring in the middle of Times Square. We had Canelo fighting overseas for the first time in his career, but the excitement for all of those fights went away pretty quick. None of the fights really produced any excitement compared to the Eubank and Ben fight that we saw last week. Agree or disagree with me, Mark? Teofimo was the only bright spot of that card.
Teofimo was the only bright spot of Friday night. He put on a great performance. I like what he did. Barbosa was surprisingly not there for this, David. I don't know what happened to Barbosa. I really thought Barbosa was going to win. I picked him. I thought he was going to be too fast with the 1-2 combos. I thought he was going to be too fast with his footwork. And I was wrong on both. Teo was faster with his footwork, more creative with his footwork, and he was faster than him, beating him to the punch all night long. I didn't even give Barbosa, I don't even think I gave him one round, David. It was a complete shutout. I like Teofimo here, man. But I don't think he's going to be at 140 much longer, David. Everything says he's going to go up to 147. I mean, what's left for him at 140, really? Subriel Matias, I mean, he's a bigger name than that. And really, what does he win beating him? I don't think he wants to be undisputed there. He's already been undisputed once. Everything about Teofimo says he wants the bigger names. Yes, they're boring bigger names, but they're all at 147, David. I don't think he's going to be at 140 anymore.
He listed out two guys by name, and that was Terrence Crawford and Boots Ennis. Crawford, forget about it. That's not happening. That's just out of the picture. If he's going to get a fight with Boots, though, wouldn't he have to win a title or do something to make it worthwhile for Boots? I mean, I'm sure Turkey could convince Boots with a, big money paycheck, but Boots has stated he's staying at 147 to become undisputed. He wants to unify all the belts. I think in order to convince Boots to take on Teofimo is going to need one of those belts. And the only other two guys holding him right now are Brian Norman and Mario Barrios. Mark, I did go with Teofimo to win. I tried to tell you, man, I thought speed was going to be the difference in that fight. He was too slick. He was way too slick for Barbosa. But I still was surprised at the way he outclassed Barbosa. I did think Barbosa was going to put up a tougher fight than that. But Theo was on one, man. I was impressed at his willingness to trade. He liked to exchange with Barbosa. He was standing in the pocket too, waiting for Barbosa to throw his shot, and he would throw his shot as well. I just don't know how I feel about Teofimo's chances at 147. At 140, it looks like his power is plateaued. He's not stunning guys the way he used to at 135. I think it's going to get even more noticeable at 147. How is he going to keep people off of him at that higher weight? You got a lot of big guys at 147. Jerron Boots Ennis, we talked about it. He looks like a super middleweight at 147. And Brian Norman Jr., I've seen that man in person. He's a big welterweight himself. He looks like a solid middleweight. Those are big boys at 147. I don't know how Teofimo is going to be able to compete with those guys. He has a lot of skills, but it's going to take a little bit more than that to overcome the power and strength of those guys at welterweight. And then the rest of the card. You had Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez. Devin Haney won, unanimous decision on that. And this was just an awful fight. Both of these guys looked terrible. Haney looked like he was scared, still feeling effects from the Ryan Garcia beating that he took in Brooklyn a year ago. And then Jose Ramirez looked shocked. He looked shocked, man. His legs didn't have the reaction and bounce you would expect from a world-class boxer. He couldn't pull the trigger. Those are all indicators of a shot fighter. I just couldn't get over how nervous Devin Haney seemed to be in that ring. And then not only that, Mark, it was a historically bad performance because they landed the least amount of punches in a 12-round fight. This is for 60 years of recording data. They were the fourth worst punching output for punches landed. I mean, that's just terrible.
Very terrible, man. They broke Shakur's last record where people were pissed off about a year and a half ago.
No shit. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Devin Haney? And I'll tell you this, man. I never want to see that guy in a boxing ring again. He's going to have to put on a couple of strings of performances to convince me to watch him fight again. How did you feel about his win?
David, I didn't even think he won. I thought Jose Ramirez clearly won that fight. I mentioned it in the text to you guys, and David told me, what are you smoking or something? But I really felt like it, David, because I usually score fights for the pressure fighter and who's putting on pressure, ring generalship. Well, to me, it seemed like what you said. Devin Haney went in there with a hangover of the last fight, and he was scared. He was fighting really scared. The announcers picked up on it right off the bat. He looked scared. He was running. He didn't want to get hit. He looked like a fighter to me that did not want to also lose that big payday coming up in October that Turkey Al-Sheikh is dangling in front of him. So I blame him a little bit too for his output of punches and the running around. I just can't give rounds to people pop shotting and running. I'm going to give the round to the guy stalking, the guy trying to make the fight. I had Jose Ramirez winning 8 rounds. I mean,
holy moly, man.
I did. I mean, I just can't see a guy winning a fight, punching and running. I stand by it. I think Jose Ramirez won that fight. Haney had nothing to be proud of over there, all happy, making fun of Ryan and his bad performance with the output that he put. But, yeah, I had Jose Ramirez winning it, but también Jose Ramirez didn't do as well as I thought he should have done. I don't think he was prepared for that much running. I think he was prepared for a little bit more of a Haney versus Ryan type toe-to-toe action, but he didn't get that. He should have studied Haney's past performances, man. He's always been a runner. He stood there and fought a little bit like he did when he fought maybe 2 years ago, David. Haney was on top of the world. He utilized the running. He utilized the evading punches, but he was excellent at standing there and going at it when he needed to, just like he did when he dismantled Lomachenko, man. He beat Lomachenko.
He didn't dismantle Lomachenko.
Well, he beat Lomachenko. What I'm saying is he's not the same guy who would run around, stop, throw some blows, and even get hurt by a Lomachenko and still stand in there and trade. That guy is gone. Yeah. I don't know what happened to that guy. I think it's Turkey's fault for dangling that check for the next fight.
Well, and this performance, which was historically bad, was quickly eclipsed by the very next fight in Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero. Mark, agree or disagree with me? The changing point of that fight was when Rolly landed the left hook and knocked Ryan down in the second round. After that, you saw the life kind of fall out of Ryan, and the desire to win wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, listen, this is another one that 90% of the public is up in arms about. This one I wasn't that mad about because I was so surprised at how damn disciplined and how good Rolly got. And it was a big surprise when he knocked him down in that second round. And we had so much energy, the underdog knocking down Ryan Garcia, the big, name in boxing, the famous Ryan Garcia, right? It was a big moment. So it got us all kind of excited. For me, that excitement kept going, even though that fight was probably record. I think it broke the other records for less punches thrown. It was still exciting to me because the underdog was winning. And it was so surprising to see how good Rolly Romero was doing. It was so surprising to see how disciplined he was, how technically better Salas made him. So it wasn't that boring to me because he shut out Ryan Garcia. Like, who the heck was going to think that was going to happen? And it's clear to me that Ryan Garcia is not living the boxing life. Rolly Romero has been living the boxing life. Rolly Romero was in camp January the 10th, dude. I was there. He's been living the boxing life. He's been trying to better himself. Ryan's a celebrity, man. He'll train enough to get there and make the weight, but I don't think he goes in there with any game plans anymore. Ryan is more of a celebrity than he is a boxer now. But you know what? I'm fine with it. You know I'm a big Ryan fan. But, I mean, it is what it is. The guy doesn't want to win any fights, man. He wants to be a celebrity.
I'm always down for an upset. I think, when things don't go the way they're supposed to, it kind of gets me going. This fight did not get me going at all, man. I hear you saying that you're kind of proud of Rolly for winning a fight. And yeah, there is a little bit of surprise in him being able to be controlled like that. But I can't support the performance when you're a part of a fight where the combined punches landed are the third lowest in CompuBox history for a 12-round fight. That is nothing to be hyped up about or even impressed about. Both of those guys can get kicked to the curb in my eyes, which leads me to this question, Mark. Is Turkey investing in the right fighters? Because it just seemed like Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, those guys have large social media followings. They talk a lot of smack outside the ring, but they don't really back it up. But when I look at these guys, Mark, and the way they act out of the ring and then the way they perform in the ring, you know what? I don't think they're worth what Turkey's paying them. I think they're overpaid. And I would like to see Turkey start investing in guys like Abdullah Mason, Virgil Ortiz, hell, Emmanuel Navarrete. That's a guy that needs a bigger push. You're telling me Navarrete wouldn't start to impress casual fans if they watched him fight? These are the types of guys that deserve to be on big platforms because the more eyes that watch them, the more fans they're going to accumulate.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, the guys who are getting look at all the welterweights that were up there. None of them were Boots. None of them were Norman. And these guys are the ones that are getting the big paydays. These guys are the famous guys.
I'm saying, but they're not. But Mark, they're not showing that they're worth the money.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's pay some. If money is not an object, and these are loss leaders for him, so he could get those guys for a fraction of what Ryan, Haney, and all the other dudes are demanding. And not only would he pay less, still give them the biggest paydays of their careers, he would have better events because of it. It makes more business sense to me. And I just, you know what? Put Virgil Ortiz in Times Square and see what kind of fight you get. Put Emmanuel Navarrete in Times Square, see what kind of fight you get. I would rather see the Masons and the Ortizes get more exposure than the guys we saw on Friday night.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. On another note, Mark, something that we didn't mention, I don't know if I said that, the Canelo fight ends up beating the Garcia versus Romero fight, gets in the record books for punches landed and thrown. Everybody thought Canelo was going to beat this guy, and me included. I thought he was going to stop him. What I had seen from William Skull was that hit and move style, but I've never seen him be able to keep up that pace for 12 rounds. He looked like he would tend to fade late in fights. He was very hittable. He said something about this going into the fight. He partied too much. He didn't take boxing and training seriously, and that was going to change for this fight. He was going to be at his absolute best. I think he really did get in shape for Canelo, and that's why he was able to maintain that horrible peekaboo freeze tag style of his. He was able to sustain that for the course of 12 rounds. I didn't see that in his prior performances, so I thought Canelo was going to get to him eventually. Turns out he couldn't. And Mark, I'm putting some blame on Canelo too. It's not all on William Skull. Canelo looked disinterested at times. He showed his frustration openly. He didn't fight with any urgency either. It looked to me like he said, fuck it. If the judges give it to Skull, they give it to Skull. I don't give a shit. It kind of felt that way because he was not trying to persuade or show anybody that he was in full control of that match, regardless of what William Skull was doing. And I think there were a lot of rounds Skull could have been given because of that attitude. And you know what else, man? That performance has kind of changed my mind of how Bud Canelo is going to look in September. Did your opinion of that fight change as well?
No, it hasn't. But just to add a little bit to that, David, I've said it many times before. The only way you can beat Canelo is pissing him off. GGG pissed him off once. Bivol pissed him off. When he can't get his way, especially older in his career, Bivol was boxing him from a distance, and he was able to just piss Canelo off, and he lost. William School was really getting under this guy's skin. When Canelo loses his temper, he's freaking mad. And yeah, he threw a tantrum a couple of those rounds and decided, I'm not going to fight. This is bullshit. Like, he was visibly upset at running after this guy. And he was just like, fine, I'm just going to walk around. I'm not going to cut off the ring. You want to do what you want to do? Go ahead. It's the attitude he had. That's the way you beat Canelo. You piss him off. He pissed him off early because I thought he was losing earlier, David. I thought William School was sticking and moving really, really good between the first and fifth round. And that's when he started really losing his composure and getting really angry. And just like you said, giving up rounds out of that anger. That's the way to beat him. Unfortunately, School didn't do enough to win those rounds, though, or steal them or whatever. He was just running. But that's the way you beat him. He had it. He didn't take advantage of it. But if people would realize, get this guy angry and you'll beat him.
You don't think Bud is going to use that against Canelo? Bud is known for making adjustments during fights. And I know he was watching very closely at how Canelo was reacting in that ring.
Bud and Canelo both in their last performances don't give me any signs of having like a really, really great fight. It can go two ways. I think that Crawford is shot, and I think Canelo is not the best of himself either. The Madrimov fight with Crawford really gave me doubts. How's he going to handle a guy like Canelo when he was suffering against a guy like Madrimov? Canelo's feints are way better than Madrimov's, and he's a lot more powerful than Madrimov. And if he's going to go toe-to-toe because he's lost some of his quickness that I saw before he fought Madrimov, getting hit a lot more, he's not going to last with Canelo. I got Canelo beating him by far. That's not the Crawford you know. He fell off the map.
I don't know, man. I disagree. I disagree a lot because Madrimov is a very different fighter from Canelo, at least the Canelo we saw Saturday. The Canelo we saw Saturday had very heavy feet, could not cut off the ring. And you know what? I think Crawford has the ability to use a good mix of foot movement and distance control to be in position to attack Canelo in spots where he'll be out of range. And the other thing that stood out to me, Mark, was Canelo's inability to make adjustments in that fight. And it made me think, have we ever seen Canelo have to make an adjustment in a fight? And when was that? It had to have been a long time ago because I can't remember the last time I've seen Canelo make an adjustment in the middle of a fight. He couldn't do it versus Bivol. He didn't do it versus GGG the first time. And in other fights, he just never really had to. He was struggling with Billy Joe Saunders. He lost some rounds to Caleb Plant. He won those fights with his power eventually landing the right shot. But he was behind. Even with Kovalev, he was behind in the Kovalev fight, or it was at least that Kovalev fight was pretty close. And Canelo landed the shot that knocked him out eventually. So Canelo's power has bailed him out in several fights. And while it could bail him out in this fight, I think Bud's a little too smart to let Canelo land the shots that those other guys did. I'm just starting to rethink my Canelo versus Bud pick. I thought Bud didn't have a chance, but that fight looks very different to me now after what we saw Saturday.
Yeah, I just think I don't think they're both the same fighter, but I think
which might make it a better fight.
Yeah, it is going to be a better fight. I just think Crawford's lost more, and I know Canelo's got almost double the fights, but Crawford is 37.
Yeah, that's true. But he's a clean 37. Doesn't drink alcohol, doesn't do drugs, stays in the gym, takes care of his body, eats well. But Father Time is undefeated, that's for sure. But Bud is trying to fight him off as best he can. That was just a horrible, horrible 48 hours for me. It was tough to watch. I felt scammed. And I just got to say this now, man, moving on to Sunday. Thank God for Mexican and Japanese fighters. I was depressed on Sunday after what I saw Friday and Saturday. Those cards were so disappointing. just when I felt like there was no hope, a monster came to the rescue. Naoya Inoue, in an absolute thriller, stepping in against Ramon Cardenas, a tough Texan with confidence and intelligence and a left hook. And who was backing them up on the card? We had El Divino Espinosa versus another Texan, Eddie Vasquez. What were your thoughts on that card?
Well, Mexico and Japan have been going at it all year long. Camaleon lost. General lost. Neri took a win. Picasso backed out of this one, so Mexico borrowed Ramon Cardenas from San Antonio. And man, Ramon put on a show, David. I was really, really proud of that guy. He caught him with a big left hook he always catches guys with. Listen, Ramon gave his all. The Japanese monster was noticeably better skill-wise, fast-wise, everything. But Cardenas has Texas grit, and he caught him, man. He caught him, and he had him in trouble, and he almost had it. The monster did his thing. He got back up and did brilliant, and he's exceptional, man. He put on a great performance, but I can't stop raving about Ramon. I just feel like the refs stopped it a little bit too much for a Ramon Cardenas, man. I know he's the monster, and he throws those punches, and he wasn't punching back. But I guarantee you, if you gave Ramon just a little bit more, maybe 1 or 2 more rounds, he could have caught him again, David. But as disappointing as it is, man, you know, the monster's what he is. He's the perfect fighter. He's the perfect fighter, man. And I haven't seen anybody in a long time that has the ability to keep getting socked in the face every round and getting knocked every fight and get knocked down and keep getting up and beating his opponents fight after fight. That's the hardest thing to do in boxing, get off the canvas and beat your guy. And he does it like he's eating Skittles, man, like nothing.
You know, what kind of stood out to me, Inoue likes to brawl. He got caught, and then he went to brawl.
Yeah, he likes to brawl. He's got a lot of heart. He's the perfect fighter, but his heart sometimes betrays him. Lo traiciona el corazón. He likes to fight.
Right. So, but when Cardenas hit him and dropped him, that was it. Every other plan went out the window, and now Inoue, he stayed in the middle of the crossfire. There was never a let me get my head right moment. Let me run around the ring for a little bit. Let me hug you and clinch. You didn't see any of that. You saw Inoue go right into the fire versus Cardenas. And he made the adjustment when Cardenas could not. He noticed Cardenas was waiting on that counter left hook. He was waiting, trying to do either a pull counter or a duck and counter. And once Inoue caught on to that, he was waiting for that. He knew that he could get off, defend that one shot, and then he could get back again because Ramon had to keep resetting. I think Ramon got a little overconfident, man, because I heard during the telecast, he told Joel Diaz, he can't crack. And Joel's like, no, he can crack. Don't think that, right? I think Ramon got caught up too much into it, and it cost him the fight, man, because I wanted him to settle down and make another adjustment to Inoue's adjustment. Maybe that looked like not engaging with him too much, backing off a little bit. And if you still want to do the counter, because it was a great game plan, let him get his shots off and then catch him with a counter, because Tim Bradley kept showing all the highlights and the clips of Inoue dropping his hand as he's punching with the other hand. So when he punches with the right hand, the left hand's down. When he punches with the left hand, his right hand's down. So there are openings that you can counter.
Yeah, he was trying to punch him in between his punching.
Exactly, and Ramon was doing that. But once Inoue made that adjustment, I think it was Ramon's turn to make an adjustment. And if he's going to do the counter, the same thing, follow up with another one. Make it a 2-punch. He kept throwing 1 punch at a time, right? Or feint the counter and then throw the other shot to make Inoue react the wrong way. So I think it was his turn to make a switch, and he couldn't, and that's why Inoue ended up winning. But Mark, that man is amazing. I know some people are going to look at that performance and try to nitpick and use it against Inoue, But this is what makes fighters great, right? These moments where they have to overcome adversity and still put on a performance like this, an impressive performance. Because that man didn't have to do what he did. He could have fought Ramon off, boxed him up a little bit, and eventually got the stoppage down the line. So kudos to Inoue. Kudos to Ramon. Super proud of you, bro. You went out there. You made Texas proud. Mark, I want to talk about one last thing that you said about the stoppage. I do think the stoppage was quick. I agree with you. I think it was better sooner than later because I did not think that fight was going to end up going in Ramon's favor. It was actually going the opposite direction. I think Inoue was on his way to a more devastating stoppage. I think the ref saved Ramon from that because Ramon wasn't going to quit, bro. He wasn't going to quit. I think Joel Diaz believed in him too much to throw in the towel, and I think that would have led to a more serious knockout, like a Nettie-type knockout. If you can avoid that as a boxer, you should, because those types of knockouts take time off of your career. So I think Ramon's got a bright future at 122. This fight, if anything, uplifts him. He shook the hell out of the world champion. Remember that in Rocky? When Rocky goes up to Mickey and he tells him, Mick, you want to be in my corner again? Mick's like, what's wrong with you, kid? You shook the hell out of the world champ. You should be proud of yourself. Ramon, you should be proud of yourself. You shook the hell out of one of the best fighters on the planet. And I see this guy still having a future at 122.
Yeah, I'd like to see him against Picasso, the guy that backed out of this fight, or any of the other big guys at 122.
He'll kill Picasso, bro.
That'd be a good fight, man. It'd be a big money fight.
Possibly. You know, Mark, after this, Inoue has a September date with MJ Akhmadaliev. There are a lot of people out there who criticize Inoue, saying he's ducking him. He was not ducking this man. If you paid attention to the way the fights were set up and what led to what, MJ is just a victim of circumstance. He's getting his wish now. He's going to get to fight Inoue. Do you think MJ comes in with a little bit more confidence after what he saw Sunday night?
Yeah, everybody does. I mean, after Nettie, people think, you give boxers vulnerability, they're going to eat it up. Yes, man. MJ's already looking to do the same thing to him. He's seeing that Nettie's done it. He's looking at Nonito when Nonito had success. Absolutely, MJ thinks he's better than all those guys, and absolutely, he's got more confidence.
One last question for you, Mark. Do you think at 32 years old, do you think Naoya Inoue has started to slip?
Absolutely not. He always gets hit. Like I said, le traiciona el corazón. He's a warrior. His heart betrays him, and he gets that warrior mode, and he's going to get hit. As long as he always remembers, inteligente antes de valiente, he'll be all right.
Yeah, I still favor him to beat MJ. I think that's the best fighter at 122, but I think Inoue takes care of him. MJ is a bit of a different beast than Cardenas, but I still favor Inoue on there. MJ's a big 122-pounder, though. So I know he's licking his chops as we speak. Well, just a quick note on Espinosa. We can't talk about the Inoue fight without giving some shine to El Divino. As soon as his fight came on, Mark, and the first round happened, that's when I started to feel better about the weekend. So actually, we got to give some credit to Divino, who put on a hell of a show with another Texas boxer, Fort Worth's own Edward Vasquez. Quick note on El Divino and what he means to the 126-pound picture.
Yeah, no, El Divino, he did awesome. David, you mentioned it, man. That guy throws 6-punch combinations like nothing, man. And they all land. The most impressive thing about El Divino on his uprise and all these fights that he's been winning lately is his accuracy. Holy crap, man. This guy doesn't miss. He doesn't miss. His punches don't seem to come out fast because he's so big and his arms are so long, but he's quick enough. And I haven't seen accuracy like that in a long time. Also, he's very choosy with his punches. He throws a lot of them, but he throws them very intelligently, knowing where to land them, and none of them are junk punches, man. I like them. And David, he keeps doing this after fights, but Divino's got a big heart, man. Did you see after the fight, the same thing with the Robesi Ramirez fight? He went
Right.
into the opponent's locker room and was crying over him because of the pain that he caused him, and told him, that he was sorry. He wishes him blessings. He didn't do it out of anger. He did it out of a job. And he asked him if that was okay. Then Vasquez said, he says, va, which means, is that cool? And, Eddie says, yeah, that's cool. Don't worry. Hey, it is what it is. It's boxing. Gives him a hug, and then he literally cries. And he's not doing this for clout, man. This is genuinely him. El Divino's a special guy, man.
I heard the announcers mention during the fighter meetings, El Divino was talking about being a pound-for-pound fighter, and he wanted to be the next great Mexican fighter. And he cried when he was talking about that, trying to win the hearts of the Mexican people. Yeah, this is a very emotional guy, but he is a monster in that ring, man. He's a very kind-hearted dude, but when he's in there, that shit goes away. I think he's the top of the class at 126. I think I don't see any of the other champions beating him. I showed that Homer GIF where he's disappearing into the hedges. That's what all the 126-pound champions are doing right now. They're walking away. They don't want to see that man in the ring. I think Divino is the truth, and I fully expect him to take over 126. And all 126-pounders and 122-pounders have been put on notice. As long as that man can make that weight, he's going to reign supreme there. All right, Mark. Well, that does it for this was a jam-packed episode, bro. We might have to do this in installments or some shit. We had a lot to talk about, bro. That was a hell of a weekend. That was a hell of a way to end a really sad weekend. I'm still feeling the buzz from Sunday night. And then we got some fights going on this weekend. We'll talk more about those in another video. As always, folks, let us know which fight did you hate the most and which one did you love the most. And what did you think of El Divino? What does his career look like at 126 while he's able to still remain there? Thanks a lot for tuning in. This is PYP Boxing. We are out.